Go live.
Going live. 3, 2, 1. You are live.
हट जा सामने। मैं देखो क्या कुछ लाइव नहीं आया है अभी तक।
You are live.
क्या कुछ लाइव नहीं आया है अभी तक। ओके I know. Live started. कोई आया ही नहीं। There's no one. क्या चीज का स्टार्ट
कंटेंट रहेगा अब स्टार्ट कर।
कंटेंट रख के क्या फायदा। मैं कुछ एडिट करके ऐसे जो दिमाग में आएगा वही बोलूंगा ना।
हाँ तो बोल रहे हो वो ज़्यादा
ठीक है।
स्टार्ट करो।
Hey folks, welcome to our first live session. So I'm super excited to go live today, and today we're gonna be discuss the first and the most crucial question that we every time get here at Typewalk with, while we are working with more than I guess 5,000 to 10,000 D2C brands. So the number one question that comes around to us is not about the what is the price of our software. That's typically the second most question, but the first question generally comes around what exactly should I price my product, right? This is one of the typical question that we always get to hear. So we'll wait for a couple of more minutes just to see and let others join in, and once we do that we'll get this thing started. Yeah, let's wait for 5 more minutes. Okay, so let's start, right? So as we all know, we are here for the best. The one question that always tricks your mind is about the pricing, right? And this question typically comes to someone who is already, starting their business for the first time. Let's say if I would have been you, I know what I'm going to sell, but I don't know exactly what's its value gonna be, right? So there are typical stuffs in the market, right? Let's say I've created a product. Let's say I'm selling this beautiful plant. Oh, I spilled out the water. So let's say I'm selling this beautiful plant out there. Now I know what is my cost and how much it takes for me to build, but I don't know what exactly should be the price I should put on my e-commerce website or wherever I'm selling. Mostly it's going to be on your e-commerce website for people to buy in, right? So here's why typically pricing is quite sensitive matter as such, right? Because to be frank, right, for most of the D2C brands which are here, they will be selling their products to the Indian consumer market, right? And Indian consumer market is a very price sensitive market, right? So there are typically three set of customers or three level of brands, which I call it, right? The first one would be at a higher end brand, someone who sells very few products, but at a very low level, but the cost or average ticket size is quite high. The second one would be a mid-market size brand, right? Someone who sells the product just a little above than the normal pricing, that goes on in the market, and it doesn't look for much volume, but yeah, it looks for volume, right? Then there's a third level of brand that looks for volume, right? They look for volume, let's say 100 to 500 products selling, and more than that when they're just getting started, because their ticket size is less. Now, before going into the steps of how to think about pricing and how to find out or figure out the perfect pricing, I'm going to tell you couple of myths which you have regarding the pricing, right? So let's go. So everyone here, just drop a thumbs up. That will let me know that you all are watching, and it's quite helpful for you guys, because this would be, believe me, I'm by the end of this, not the end, within, between our live session, I'm going to reveal you a free tool that will give you an idea about how to price a product. So you will be go data driven, right? So just drop a thumbs up, and I'll let know that, okay, folks, you all are watching us. So I can see a couple of cool. So the number one myth is that if I charge way higher, people won't buy the product at the starting. Now that's a kind of myth to be starting, but yeah, that's a truth also. A myth because you might never know, right? Let's say when you're just starting out in a market where market doesn't know, or market feels that it's an innovative product, and you think that, okay, currently the current market charges is around, let's say you're trying to figure it out that, okay, it's going to be selling, I'm thinking to plan to sell it at let's say 10,000 rupees, but the current market or whatever the products are there in the market, they all are selling it at a 7,000 or odd bucks. So in that case, what happens is, you never know what's the market gonna pick, right? As I said, there are three level of customers, right? One would be on a higher end, one would be on a mid range, and one would be on a lower range, who will be always searching for discounts and all, right? The deal sites typically. So for that, you need to have a crystal clear thinking of what you want to make your brand. Now, while I'm having a lot of conversation around with a lot of D2C brand builders, they generally want to keep their brand at a very premium level and all this kind of stuffs. Now that's good for basically, but you just have to reevaluate, right? That are my products that superior enough, right? Sometimes we as a product builder, we know that our products are superior enough, but do our customers believe it to be a superior enough? So what I generally do is, let's say whatever price I think I have in mind and market would be actually willing to pay, I put that price. We'll discuss the formula to bring that price up, and maybe every month I'll just increase it by 10%, 10%, 10%, and see where the friction comes up. Now here, one thing which you have to remember here is, you have to also look at the seasonal factor, right? So just have a 3 months time period, because in India generally season changes around 3 months, right? So just have a time frame of 3 months within it, and just try to change it. Basically weekly, if you can do that, would be better. But because it depends again on your marketing spends, right? If you don't have bigger marketing spends, you have to look at the lengthier number of months for that process. So that's first myth, right? The second myth is, my product is quite new, I don't know how to price it, I don't know what should I price it. Should I price it high or low? My product is new is basically the myth, right? The product could be new. There's like a 1 to 2% chance the product could be new. And here's why, right? Let's say whatever the solution you're building, let's talk about Typeoff, right? Typeoff is an online e-commerce, easy to use platform that you can create your store within just 3 clicks. Yeah, typically 3 clicks. But now you might be thinking there are also alternatives to it, right? There's a huge bigger alternative called as Shopify. Shopify is a legacy software which we call. So it has been in years, but here's what, we are an alternative for it, right? We know that there is a market that requires e-commerce software. Before Shopify, there was custom website builder. With Shopify, what happened? The process become a little bit easier, right? But still, there is custom development cost, app cost, transaction cost, and every cost getting piled up, right? So we are solving this segment where you don't have to even pay for that lot of piled ups, right? You don't have to pay for, so even if you take Shopify or any legacy software like that or Magento, you still have to pay for the software as well, and as well as the developer. In case of a custom developed website, your charge would be way higher for a Shopify, but in case of Shopify and Typeoff, your charge will be way lower if you choose Typeoff, and same powerful system just like a Shopify would do, with better customization at your end, because you as a brand builder know how to build your brand, right? So that you can do the stuffs on your end. But if you tell a developer, he'll take, still, even if it's done in Shopify, it will at least take 10 to 15 days. Then there is checkings going on, quality checks here and there, and believe me, it takes a hell lot of time to just ship a normal feature which would an e-commerce site require. But yeah, that's the hard truth. So yeah, that's the second myth, that my product is innovative. For most of the time, your product is not innovative, you're just a better version of the current product which is there, right? So just don't feel around it. So the best process to find if you're innovative or truly innovative or not is to go on to find current competitors. If you have a direct competitor, that says all the question. If you don't have a direct competitor and have a indirect competitor as such, in that case you are an innovator product plus, you are a plus product, I can say, right? You are innovating the current solution you're having, right? So that's the second myth. The third myth which I have is generally come around is my product is quite new, right? I should always have 3 different prices, 4 different prices, I don't know what to do. So yeah, that's a truth. Like generally you have a very tendency idea that okay, I should price high, I should price low it. But what generally you have to do is you have to pick a right pricing and just test it around the price. Right? You can't randomly go and pick a price. If you do that, then you will be lost. So these are a couple of myths around the price, right? So just drop a thumbs up and let me know if you are good with me until now, and we'll proceed with the technical way of how to price the product. I'm waiting for your comments. Cool. So let's get down to the basics of how to price a product, right? So here's the steps of pricing a product, e-commerce product, products that are physical. It's quite easy, right? Because here's how it goes. You have a product which you have to build, so you have that building cost. A product which you have to deliver, you have a delivering cost, and whatever is left is an overall margin, right? So you need to get down to those basics of what it costs to build and ship. That's the basic cost which you should have in hand. Let's say when you're just starting out, you build a prototype and everything, which we have a detailed article around it. You can check it out. We'll be mentioning that in the comment section, in the description section below. So let's say you have built a product. That overall cost of building 50 products took you 1 lakh. Let's say 1 lakh. Or for a easy calculation, 1 lakh is a easy calculation, right? 50 products, 1 lakh, right? Now let's divide it down to what it costs for one product. So it's going to be 20,000 if I'm not wrong. My maths is correct, I think. So 20,000 is the cost per product, right? Now that is cost for you to build. Now obviously for you to ship it to your customer, that would require another set of costs, right? That's called as delivery charges, right? In e-commerce, when you give the delivery charges and explain the delivery charge in your checkout to your customer, a very high drop off appears, right? So it's quite better to include your delivery charges in your own product costing, right? So this is what I have seen in my experience working in D2C brands as a growth person, is that let's say if your product is even 500 rupees and your delivery charges is just 20 rupees, if you included that, you just get better conversion than if you exclude that and you want your customer to pay for that, right? So free delivery is something that's a craze around the world just because, few companies popularized it. So try to do that, and the best way to do that is to inculcate the price of the delivery inside your product margins, or maybe inside while calculating the basic cost of making to cost of delivery, right? So you know what a typical cost it takes to deliver a product, right? So it's gonna be, let's say, one way straight would be, let's say, 120 rupees, right? Is the delivery cost. Just multiply it by 2. Now here's the reason why you would do that, right? What happens in e-commerce is once you deliver the product, it's more, for most of the time, it's for like 60 to 70% for a new brand, you're gonna get the product back. Couple of times it's gonna be foreign exchanges, couple of times it's gonna be maybe RTOs or something, right? RTOs is return to origin. That means customer hasn't accepted even your order. So in that case, you get a minus 120D, right? So to actually, make sure that you don't fall into the trap of RTOs at a much higher level or at a much high cost, you should do it into multiply of 2. So in that case, your delivery charge is 240 rupees. But make sure you just, when you're using it, you price it at just little low, because there will be few chances of doing it, right? So what I generally do is, whatever your delivery charge, let's say it's 100, multiply it with 1.5, not 2, 1.5, right? So it's gonna cost you around like what, 150 odd rupees, right? So you have 20,000 rupees of a per product, 150 rupees additional. Let's, for a better maths, we'll increase it to 50 rupees more, 220. So 20,200 is your cost of product manufacturing to product delivery, right? That's a fixed cost. Apart from that, you have several other costs, right? It could be around, variables. I generally take it as 20%, right? There will be variables is something like other cost you can keep, but let's say staffing cost, financing cost, there are a couple of costs around that while you're building a brand, D2C brand. So you should also keep that in mind, because you can't particularly calculate it, to be very frank, right? You can't calculate your AC, your AC bills, or you can't calculate your electric bills to be very swift enough, right? Equal to equal, that's something which you can't. So for that case, you have to keep a variable cost of 10 to 15% of whatever your, MRP would be, whatever would be the cost price of the product. Let's say your product is 15,000 rupees in this case. Your variable will be 10% of 15,000, that is 1,500 rupees, right? So just mark it over there. So right now our current cost comes around 15 was the product cost, let's say 15 or 20 was the product cost, right? So 20 plus 1,500 plus 200, so it comes around 20 1700 something around odd, right? So that's the fixed cost you have. Once you get that cost, put a margin over it, right? Generally in e-commerce, you should take your margin more than 50%. And there's a reason behind it, because there are a couple of factors involved. You're not dealing with dealers, retailers here and there, so you don't need to have a very lower margin. The lower margin, what it will hamper your brand in terms, you can't help yourself in proper cash flow. The best advantage of e-commerce is that you have a very good cash flow in hand, other than other brands, right? Let's say if you start a SaaS company just like Type of, right, you won't be having a proper cash flow. Even you actually, at least for a bare minimum time, you have to at least give a 14-day free trial, right? Customer won't be paying until the 14 days. But in e-commerce, you just get to pay within 5 days. That's the delivery time, typical delivery time in India. So your product testing and everything will come around within that 5 to 7 days of a time. So which makes e-commerce a very rewarding industry, right? So that's a cost for to bear, and everything goes around it. This is what I have typically realized: more than 50% margin is a good way. Now you can increase it, just like as I said. So just put a margin over there and calculate the total cost. So in this case, a 50% margin on the top of the fixed cost would be again a 20,000 additional. So total price of your product, best price, suitable price, would be around 50,000 to 60,000. Just keep a 10% up, minus, up, down there, right? So that's how you generally price your product. Now you can keep on testing, as I said. Once you have that basic pricing up there, you can keep that testing over months. If you don't have very huge marketing budget, you have very very low marketing budget, so you just want to test on basic traffic level. So just test it on that level, and divide your, what I say, product pricing strategy into 3 different parts, right? Let's say the first month you will increase it by 10%, that the second month you will increase it by 10%. Then you get a friction that, okay, not much people are buying in it. Then you can maybe drop your price and increase, try to give it a 10% off. So you can check all these prices up there. So that will give you a holistic idea of how you should price your product. And once you do it on a margin, once you do it your products on the scale, obviously the cost of building that product reduces. So in that way you can actually reduce your prices. Here's what the trick is. You have to be very clear in mind that what type of brand you are trying to build. Are you trying to build a volume driven brand? It's still gonna be brand, it's just that it's gonna be volume driven, right? Let's say it's gonna add more volume in this case as compared to a normal brand. Let's assume you're trying to start off sneaker brand in India, right? A typical sneaker in India cost you around $1,000, right? 1,000 rupees. So let's say if you're a what I call a scale brand, a mass brand. So in that case, you will price it somewhere around 1,100 to 1,200 just to get the big margins done, right? Now, small margins at a but a big scale. So that's the first thing which you're gonna do. The second brand level is gonna be a mix of the scale, but not much, but at a pretty decent price, right? Just 10% up than the normal market. So in this case, you're gonna price your sneakers around 2,200 rupees, right? 2,000 rupees plus. Then there comes a very expensive level of brand that is quite expensive, 5 to 6,000 rupees, and you're not gonna deal there in terms of volume. You're gonna deal there with brand level. You're gonna deal them with superiority, make them feel about the product, and so on and so forth. So that goes inside the brand. So you must have that thing in clarity, because once you scale and your cost of making your product comes down because of the unit economics of the because once you get bigger scale, you're gonna source all those materials at a very lower cost, because once you source it at a very large level, you generally get the cost down, right? So in this case, your cost of making that product will be decreased. So in that case, you should know that that will actually increase your margins. You just have to split your, you just have to decrease your product just by 10%, 10%, 10%. And once you're good with all those financing terms and things and financing numbers, you're done. You're quite out there with your perfect pricing up there. That's it. That's all about the pricing of the e-commerce markets sector. Any questions? I'm happy to take. We'll be wrapping this up within next 5 to 10 minutes. So any questions, please drop that in the comment section below. So looks like there's not much questions up right there. So we'll wrap up this session and we'll see you soon with another live session. And this is gonna be on a topic that's quite requested by a lot of folks up there. So keep posted. We'll meet right back. Bye bye. खत्म हो गया